So this is my third life. Why do I think that setting up this new LLC and starting a brand new company is going to be better for me than it was all the other companies I've built in the past? I'll give you a good reason. Back when I had a brick and mortar store, I had no clue about going into business, having good personal credit, and start establishing business credit right away. I didn't understand how important that is. I didn't understand. And my mentor, who was white, but I guess maybe because he was around so many black people, was just as ignorant as us. And he didn't know, or he knew, but a part of me wants to say he knew, but he didn't care. He had that mentality, I don't need credit, I don't ever need credit. Ignorance. And by this point, I'm in my 30s, you know. I'm 55 now, but at this point, I'm in my 30s. And I established my own cell phone store. But later on, I learned that just because I had a real established LLC and a real brick and mortar location, I established credit in a way with some vendors. I didn't understand that at the time, but I had a credit line. This is like the pager age is going out. Cell phones coming in. And I didn't understand why the vendors would allow me to have so much ability to order so much up front and then pay them later. I had credit just for being established in a brick and mortar location. But I didn't understand that if I just had personal credit to PG that business credit, later corporate credit, it would have dramatically got to the point where when my landlord offered to sell me the building, it's a true story. This was in Stamford, Connecticut, a very nice location across the street from a Dunkin' Donuts, which they probably moved 20 times because Stamford's always moving. But true story. My landlord came to me and offered me first he offered me a bigger spot because it was a spot above my cell phone store. If I didn't say what it was, a cell phone store. There was a big area that took up the same amount of space as my cell phone store. I didn't jump on that for a small amount extra per month. Had I had credit, I could have did that. So he ended up renting it out to a church, so I had to share the space with a church over my head. But later, I think he was pretty desperate, and he had a print shop, which was right next to my spot. So he was renting the spot to me. He owned the whole building. And he came to me with an almost desperate look on his face and said, if I want, I could buy the building. I was not prepared for that. These are all things that if I knew back then what I know now, I would be so rich. I wouldn't even be making this video right now. That was my brick and mortar story. Later, I went to one of these companies, and I'm not saying if you're not desperate, don't go do this, but this is the desperate way to build your company's credit, in my opinion. Later, I went to one of these companies and they did what they call credit stacking, where they run your credit a whole bunch of times. They do establish you a lot of credit really quickly, but it tanks your score to the point where at some point you can't even borrow anymore for probably a good 6 months of going through credit repair. You gotta knock off the inquiries and all this. It was a horrible experience, and I owed money because you gotta remember, you gotta pay these guys 20% on the back end later. They take it out of your some of it off your credit cards, some off your lines of credit or credit line or whatever it is. So now you're already in a hole, and you don't even have a plan what to do with that credit. I was one of those. I'm no longer one of those. So you're learning from my experience of just watching me go through the stuff. This is my third life now. The reason why I think I'm in a better situation this time is for a lot of reasons. I started branding a whole year ahead of time. So I was branding a name. I purchased the domain right away, like a whole year before even starting about setting up the company. So I got the domain off jump. I'm going in with good personal credit for the first time. From the first time of setting up a company, I'm going in with above 650. Because I think a lot of times I started with 650. That got me in trouble too, because your lines are a lot smaller. My score will be at 720 when I pull the trigger to get. I'm not going to do credit stacking. I'm going to go in and think about what bank I'm going to go with slowly. I'm only going after 150,000, and then I'm stopping. Why am I stopping at that point? Because you don't want to look desperate to the banks when you go back in for your second and third rounds. You only use the money on stuff that's going to make more money. Now I know, because I'm also doing transportation, that I could go purchase 3 inexpensive cars, get some drivers in those cars, and at bare minimum I can make additional $400 a week on each car. $400 a week. So right there, I have a source of where I can take the credit, because there's certain places that you can go, and a lot of times you'll get that check, that the first check that you can write off your credit line. You can use that to purchase a vehicle. But I'm in this for the long game. I'm not trying to rush this time. That's another reason why I'm going to be successful. Another reason, grants. I'm going after grants before I even go pull the trigger on credit. So I'll have cash in the bank before I even pull the trigger on asking them for money. The bank loves that. If I put $10,000 in my personal Chase account and then go open a business account and move over half that money to the business account, Chase is probably going to give me pretty high limits on credit when I need it. But my goal is to go after as many grants as I can so that I have cash in the bank for payroll. And you're not lying. A lot of these grants will allow you to ask for money for get your payroll going. Who's your first employee? Totally legal. Now you do pay taxes on this money. A lot of people overlook that when it comes to grants. They do overlook that, because technically it is still taxable money, but it's free money in a way of you're not paying back the debt. So my goal is to go as many grants as I can. No limit. You heard me. No limit. Why technology? Another reason why I'm going to be successful. I'm in a low-risk industry. If I would have did this the way I was going to originally do this, I would have been in transportation, under taxi and delivery, high-risk industry. I would have got less credit, less funding. I would have still got some. Don't get me wrong. I still would have been able to go after gas cars and all that. But with a technology company, you can have your cake and eat it too. What do I mean by that? This can become a holding company. You can later make this an S Corp holding company and then start establishing your first operating company as that taxi and delivery business. It is high risk, owned by the holding company. But when you go borrow credit, you have a low risk industry to borrow credit from. And then later down here, you might want to at least get some gas cards for the operational company. Somebody said in my comments, probably on one of my rideshare channels, because I do have a rideshare channel where I'm going to be talking about this stuff. And they said, why do all this? Why not? Why not get more? It is true. If you open a taxi and delivery business, Chase will let you open an account for it. Even though it's transportation, it's not as high risk as trucking. So if you're just doing Uber and Lyft and you put it under taxi and delivery, Chase will probably let you have an account with no problem, provided you have whatever license is necessary. They will have an issue with it. But why deal with that now when you can have so much corporate credit spending up front to later go out and establish operating companies? Now you have the capital. You're the bank. You're the bank. You have the funds to now establish new operational companies in any niche you want to do, even if it's high risk. You still want to change up the name. There's still some stuff you can make it lower risk, even in trucking. But that's another reason why I'm going to be more successful with this company. I think to the point where I don't even need to establish any more companies after this. Will I? Yes. Will I need to? No. I could just go on and on and on and on and on getting more funding for this one business. But I know that I'm going to build a bigger business, and that has to be established another way to take public or sell. My AI marketing agency, I'll probably keep that. I'll probably make that an S Corp and keep that, and have my living trust own it doesn't technically own the S Corp, but it owns the shares, which still technically owns the S Corp. And it'll be passed on to my child. But I know that I could get even more funding to the point where I'm not going to probably even go for a second round necessarily, or focus on going for a second round on this company unless it's no PG. The only thing I want to PG is up to $150K. I'll personally guarantee. But after that, you position the company the right way where it will start building business and corporate credit without PG in it. That's more corporate credit. This time around, I'm going to be more successful because I'm going to have the website, the business phone number, the corporate address that's not my home address. Yes, I made that mistake. You know, it won't be brick and mortar. It'll be a virtual business address. Later on with the C Corp, we're going to have a brick and mortar established. So real. And that will play as like the studio and what we'll physically start. I might really start bringing on employees. For the first time in my life. I think about that sometimes. I might actually have to start hiring employees at that point if I want to take that C Corp to a status that could actually really make me some serious money. I'm talking about wealth where I don't have to physically work anymore type of wealth is what I want to get from the C Corp. But in the meantime, this is your family LLC, I like to call it. This is your starting point. You get your first LLC going, but you see how by keeping a low risk, you're helping yourself establish more funding from jump. And you can still have a division of this that does transportation, that does a hair salon or barbershop or whatever else you want to do. This is what I'm going to be talking about on the new channel. All my long form content is going to go on one new channel by itself, and all the short form content is going to go on the other channels because I'm never going to get that monetized really properly, so I just gave up on those channels. But I put so much time and history into these channels, 5, that I want to keep them going, at least with the short form content. So that's what I'll do with all the short form content from Opus Clips you'll see on the other 5 channels. And that still kind of gives me exposure to my main channel. Every now and then I'll talk about the main channel. I haven't named it yet, but I got an idea of a name I want to go with. But I think I'm going to be super successful with this just because I got everything in order, and the last company that I set up, I still have the entity in Navy Federal. There's just a lot of things were set up wrong. And it's funny, I think back on where I had to go to these online people, and truthfully, you don't even need my help. I don't know if anybody on YouTube has told you that, but you don't need my help. Literally, you know what's helping me? It's watching YouTube and AI technology. Literally, the AI can teach you how to be an entrepreneur now if you ask the right questions and put in the right prompts. AI is so advanced, it could give you the prompts. You could be like, ask me the right questions so I can build a prompt to do this. And it'll ask you all the questions. You answer all the questions. It'll give you the super prompt to do whatever else you need to do. I'm building an AI marketing agency with no technical experience, and I'm over age 55. I'm age 55. I'm not over age 55, but I just turned 55 in December. So I'm 55 years old. I did graduate high school, barely, never no college. And literally, I went in to Google's AI Studio, built a working app in like 5 minutes with just simple instructions. and the app works. And I just put that on my website. I got a little link on my website. Try me. And it's a real working app. You don't think that's going to impress the bank when I go to the bank and be like, yeah, I built a working app with Google AI Studio in 5 minutes, and it actually works. No technical experience. This is how I know you guys can do this. I was an Uber driver for the past 7 years. And when you say that, people will look at you like, nah, just stick to driving, bro. You'll have some idiot that'll say a comment like that. Not knowing that Uber or Lyft drivers have other lives outside of just Uber and Lyft. I was in the communications industry for over 20 years, on and offline. Just think that when I had my brick and mortar cell phone store, had I knew what I know now, I would have owned that property in Stanford. It would have gone up in value just because it was in a prime location. I think it was East Main Street in Stanford, Connecticut. Prime location. There was a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. I'm pretty sure everything's changed now if you see that location, but I was there for 3 years, and if I knew what I know now, I didn't even have YouTube back then, so I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have a good personal credit. I didn't establish the business credit, even though I kind of already had business credit. I didn't establish it further. And business credit back then, after doing research, was easier to build. That's when, back in the day, when Lowe's and Home Depot, they used to give you those $10,000 and $15,000 credit lines, and used to build up your paydex quickly with Dun & Bradstreet. You don't even need Dun & Bradstreet nowadays. All you need is, I think, Experian Business. I think you get an Experian Business subscription. And you focus on just that, it's going to spread to the other bureaus. Like I said, all I need to guarantee is maybe $150,000 on the person. That's all I need to guarantee. I don't need to get crazy. And then that's when I'll stop. I'll go for second round on the business, but only if it's where I don't have to PG again. If I don't need to PG again, and they just keep adding on to those lines, I'm good. And then I'll be able to go after corporate credit where I don't even have to PG. Like, I already know the car places, once you established a corporate profile, you can go to the car places. If they can see your profile, you'll be able to buy a car without PGing it. I think easily. And this is where, again, you come into play. Now you have access to cars that you could use to make money. You can literally rent the cars to Uber drivers, Uber Lyft drivers. But that's all I really had for you guys today. I want to really thank you guys for listening to me rant. But this is my plan for the future. And not for the future. It's now. It's happening now because I established the entity. I'm saying as far as the lines of credit that we're working on right now, I'm going after a grant first. That's step one. I have one of the best grant sources in the country. Check the links below. There might be a link to it below. Once I start getting grants, I don't even have to rush to go after funding. That's what I like to do. And I can keep my personal credit profile building. I might go after like one credit card on the personal side just to give me that boost. Because the key is you want to get a personal card, at least one, possibly two lines of credit on the personal side at about $10,000. That'll get you the maximum amount on the business side. And that was another thing I did wrong the last time when I funded my old company. I didn't have that. I think my highest personal line was like $5,000. So I did get business credit. For those that say stupid stuff in the comments, you never got business credit. Yes, I did. I established business credit in the past, but I got small limits where I could have got 20 and 25,000. You got like 5,000. So everything's got to be in line. This is why I think I'm going to be my most successful ever, because of the way everything is structured this time around. Personal credit, business set up properly for grants. The business even got to be set up properly for grants nowadays. That's the only drawback. Grants ain't as easy as people think. You got to have your entities, but if your entity's set up properly to get funding, it's already set up properly for grants, if that makes sense. So I've got that set up. I didn't try to do anything crafty with trying to make this a holding company in Wyoming or anything like that. This is your family LLC. This is designed to just get you money. Your all your hustle money, put it in this LLC. The more the better. That's going to help you qualify for money later, just based on what your company's making. You could take it out later in the form of payroll. Just put as much as you can in there. Hopefully to at least cover your personal payroll. That's all I want to do. And have me a pay stub, a real pay stub, because that's going to be what's going to get me my tax return. What card, people, when you go to get your car, they want to see that, simple stuff. You go to rent something, they see, you need pay stubs. But the beauty about getting a pay stub from your own business, let's say you're going after some really major funding for the business, like $500,000, and you got to make your personal look even bigger. You give yourself a raise. As long as the business is making something, you give yourself a raise. So the goal is to get enough grants to cover payroll for just me, which don't have to be a lot, because I'm already making money to put in the company to pay everything else. But the only difference is I'm going to keep it in the company, go to ADP, cut me a check, you see what I'm saying? Put that personal money in my personal account before I pay my rent. But at some point, I even got a trick to have the company pay my rent or mortgage legally. Now, disclaimer, I'm not an advisor or a CPA or a lawyer or none of that. But I'm simply somebody that's actively doing in the process of building real companies and showing you the process as I go through it. I got links as I'm building out each step. I put the links below so you can use those same companies if you want. I do get a commission on the affiliate side if you want. And that's going to be another way to build money for your business. You gotta fund your company, and affiliate marketing is a great way to fund your company. My eye looks really red. I'm going to see my daughter, and my eye looks so red. But this is where we're at. I'm feeling good about this year. And the only reason why I think I'm really, the true reason, the true spiritual reason why I'm going to be successful is I'm in it to help others. I think if you just build a business just to make money, you're never going to be successful. I'm saying it right now. If you build a business just to make money, I don't think you're ever going to be truly successful. You got to make it to help others, I believe. Thank you guys for your time, dedication, if you've been following along the journey. And I hope to see you in the future. Thank you.